Okay, WWE Bad Blood just wrapped up, and if you watched my prediction video, you know that I didn't really know what was going to happen. I didn't have solid, concrete answers for anything. What I will say is it does seem like they were building this PLE up way more than just a random one-off before Survivor Series. And now we're kind of seeing why. In the chat on stream, the number one question I was getting asked was definitely, do you think the right decision was made in having CM Punk and Drew McIntyre kick off the show and not be the main event? And personally, I think it's an impossible question to really answer. As far as deciding whether they should have been flip-flopped, whether the bloodline should have been first, whether Drew and Punk should have ended the show. And I can only speak from how I reacted to the match in general. The first match I absolutely loved, but what I will say is it absolutely drained the energy out of me. I was so invested in everything that CM Punk and Drew did. It was so brutal. It was so different than anything we've seen in such a long time that once it was over and we had to go on to the next 3 matches, I had a very, very difficult time paying attention and making sure I knew what was going on. So what I tried to do in my mind was I imagined, okay, so yeah, let's imagine we flip-flop them. Let's put CM Punk and Drew at the end of the show, and yes, that drained energy and everything would have been fine because the show is over. If you saw my reaction to Jimmy Uso returning and The Rock returning, you'll know I had a very emotional reaction. I cried. So had you put The Rock returning and everything that transpired between the whole bloodline, new bloodline at the beginning of the show, it would have been the exact same thing. I don't really think there's a point in trying to decide which one would have been better. The show already happened. It's over. It's done. Kaput. Both matches were still important. Both were very captivating and exciting. So we could talk in circles all day long of whether or not it was the right decision. I don't think it would have mattered either way. Either one, I can make an argument for it not being great. The only solution for me would be that both matches shouldn't have been on the same card. How are you going to have The Rock either return at the beginning of the show or the match right before Drew and Punk? How are you going to have Drew and Punk right before the bloodline? I don't think either would have worked. I think with the position and the situation they were in, it was the right call to have Drew and Punk at the beginning and then The Rock at the end. Either way, we would be having this conversation. The only solution, only one should have been on the card, not both. But that's just where we ended up. But holy shit, did Drew and Punk put on a banger. I was captivated the whole time. Everything that they did was magical. It was brutal. I am not a big fan of color. I'm not a big fan of death matches. I know this wasn't a death match, but I've been very vocal about, you know, what I like and what I don't like. Those two beat the living hell out of each other. There's no way around that. I didn't know what was really hurting. I didn't know what was planned, and that's the way that it should be. I am curious where they go from here. I kind of thought that Drew was gonna win, and then that was going to make it so that he could move on past this, but it was the other way around. I'm curious to see what happens on Monday. Maybe Drew McIntyre goes away for a little while, has a nice vacation. I think that might be the right move for him. So like I said, we got through the first Hell in a Cell match, and then we moved on to Bayley and Nia. I was so reeling after the Hell in a Cell match that it took me a long time to get into what was happening. And to be honest, I wasn't super invested in it. The ladies put on a good show. I just had a hard time paying attention. There was an interesting spot of the Hurricane Rana, and then it picked up at the end. What I don't like is that Tiffany didn't actually cash in. She was going to, and then it was like the confrontation by Nia completely threw her off, and then she didn't want to do it anymore. And maybe, yeah, it's just because Nia wasn't down and she couldn't capitalize on it anymore, but now she still has the briefcase. Where do we go from here? Is Bayley done trying? Is it now going to be a feud between Nia and her? Because Tiffy has the briefcase. Does somebody else step in and we try a different feud and then Tiffy can cash in then? Maybe I'm just tired and I'm drained after the fuckery of this show, but I wanted to like it more than I did, and I'm just gonna blame that the first match did me in. That same exact energy carried on into Damian and Finn. I just did not feel any emotion between the two of them, really. Maybe I just wasn't really paying that close of attention. I just didn't feel any fire. I didn't feel the hatred. I woke back up and really paid attention when the latter half of the match happened and the Judgment Day interfered. I think it's interesting that Finn Balor is now finding himself nearly in the same position that Damian Priest was in, albeit Finn Balor doesn't have the title. But remember that period of time where Judgment Day was interfering in almost every match that Damian Priest had, and they were trying to help? and they were unsuccessful every time. Lo and behold, looky here, we have Finn Balor in a match against Damian. Judgment Day comes out to try to help, and what do? They screw up. It didn't help. Finn still lost. So next week, it's very likely that Finn is going to be frustrated. He's going to take it out on his Judgment Day members of like, hey, what the hell? Or he could internalize it on himself and either really berate himself and be like, oh no, like maybe I'm not as good. He's likely just gonna blame his Judgment Day members. And I think that is going to lead into that implosion of the Judgment Day that I was talking about and that I feel like really needs to happen. I love that when we went into the Liv and Dom match, Liv and Dom weren't really connected to the previous match, even though it was the Judgment Day. And I hope that maybe that's a little bit of foreshadowing that Liv and Dom or Dom himself might be breaking off from the Judgment Day when things eventually do go to shit. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, I don't know. Spitballing. The lowrider, the entrance of the lowrider, very Eddie Guerrero coded. Shout out to Corey Graves and Michael Cole for their commentary tonight. Both of them, their chemistry together is so good. They've loosened up so very much. I really love the fun commentary. Triple H decided he had an announcement, and I wondered if I had missed something because I hadn't heard anything about an announcement at any point. So Triple H comes out to the ring, and then you see one of the podiums that has a covered title on it, and we're like, ooh, the whole chat was going on about, ooh, women's mid-card title, rah! And then from out of left field, we have Triple H tell us that we have a crown jewel title that left me with way more questions than answers. Basically, from both the men and the women, we're going to have both the WWE Championship holder and the World Heavyweight Championship holder go face to face at Crown Jewel, and the winner is going to be the Crown Jewel belt holder. I am not a negative Nancy. I'm not going to be one of those people that's going around being like, who asked for this? Oh my God, whatever, what have you. But again, I have more questions than answers. I still feel a little weird about the Saudi pay-per-views sometimes, and the idea that there's a specific title for Crown Jewel. Crown Jewel has been a great PLE the last couple of years. It's leaps and bounds better than it had been when it first started. And I know that they're making strides with the women being involved in the show. But something about the title being specific to Crown Jewel, is it going to be featured on Raw and SmackDown? Is the holder going to have to bring it with them everywhere? Are we only going to see it at Crown Jewel time? And if that's the case, then what's the point? Are we going to feel that it's important? Are we not? I don't really know how to feel about it. What I will say though is that I enjoyed Gunther coming down to the ring, and I enjoyed Gunther interacting with Goldberg. A lot of people might not agree with that. I know that the sentiment in the stadium was a lot of people booing Goldberg, and some of them were doing the Goldberg. I don't think I have anything against Goldberg unless I'm forgetting something. But I believe Goldberg's last match was against Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber. And if I remember correctly, he wasn't feeling well and it didn't go well. I would love if in this current climate, and if he's up for it and in the space, to have another retirement or a final match, a actual retirement match, and maybe wash the bad taste out of people's mouths. I'm open to that. I think it would be fine. I wanted to be more invested in the Liv and Rhea match than I was also, and I just wasn't. After the Crown Jewel announcement, I thought maybe Tiffany Stratton would be able to come out during or after the Rhea and Liv match and cash in her money in the bank on the winner. So in my mind, that was Liv. Tiff could come out, cash in on Liv, win the title, and then for Crown Jewel in a month, she could face Nia Jax. It was cracky. I thought it made sense. It didn't happen. Instead, the match, it felt really rushed. Again, I felt like there just was no actual emotion or heat between the two of them. I felt more of the heat between Rhea and Dom. And then things just got weird, and I don't know what the end of the match was supposed to be. I don't know what happened. I'm not going to sit here and throw the botch word around or any bullshit like that because I don't really care. The camera angle was weird. It was behind the shark cage. The referee came up. I saw someone. I was like, it's probably Raquel. And then next thing I knew, the match was over. I feel like we didn't get much of an explanation of anything. The crowd did not react to Raquel at all. And so I didn't know if they just didn't see or if people didn't care. Like, it was very, very confusing for me. And I don't know where they're going to go from here. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know where they're going to go from here. But Liv is still champion. And I really thought that Rhea should get her championship back. So I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let them cook. But I'm confused. The night flew by so quickly. We had these 4 matches. The 3 matches in between, I had a very difficult time following. I had a very difficult time deciding how I felt about them. Some of the things that happened in them I hadn't expected. And then we get to the Bloodline match. And then I forgot about everything that happened previously. Roman Reigns looked freaking fantastic. I am not one to sit on stream and lust or talk about the men in the ring, but holy moly, captivating. Not only that, Roman Reigns' facial expressions, the way he carries himself, the aura, but just the way he was carrying himself, he did it so very well, so aloof. So I don't care about Cody Rhodes. I'm here for me. I'm doing this. I'm unbothered. I know who I am. I'm the OTC. And then went on to be quicker and more physical than I feel like I've seen him in a long time. Mans was swift. A couple of the spots that he had with both Solo and Jacob were just amazing. Jacob is really coming into his own on the main roster. I know that he has been doing this a long time and he's great, but it's so hard to deny just how comfortable he looks. The crowd interaction added so much to the match as well. You could see on Solo's face the way that it was just driving him insane, that they were chanting against him and rooting for Roman, and there really wasn't any chance for Cody at all. Cody was just kind of a supporting character. He was there. This was 1000% all about the bloodline. Jacob leaning into the "I love you, Solo," and "You are my tribal chief," and actually shouting at Roman how Solo is the tribal chief. The moment where Solo yells at Roman and was like, "You left me and you said I was next in line. You said I was next in line. What do you mean?" But Solo, didn't he leave you in charge for when he left? And then if you didn't do a good job, you didn't do a good job. You didn't do him right in his absence. And then when he comes back, you're trying to take over. You're not doing your part. That was not the agreed upon thing. Not only that, you took out his wise men. If you didn't see my stream, if you didn't see my clips, when Jimmy revealed himself and came back, I did not anticipate getting emotional, but I did. I'm an emotional being. I'm an emotional person. Jimmy was my favorite. I love Jimmy. Jimmy just has such charisma. He just doesn't break. He adds so much. He adds so much to the bloodline. And the bloodline story has been going on for so long now. And it's been a part of my life since I've been doing this, since I've been watching weekly and streaming. The bloodline story itself has been a part of an entire year of my life completely changing. So when Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso are embracing in the middle of the ring after Jimmy has been gone for so long and everything that he went through with Solo, it was genuinely so good to see the two of them back together, despite all of the bad things that happened when they were the bloodline together. All of the discord between them and Jay. I was totally on Jay's side, but you can feel the changed energy between both Roman and Jay. Not to skip ahead too far, but when Roman and Jay are walking up the entrance ramp and they turn to see the new bloodline beating up Cody, Roman is initially like, that's not my problem. I said one favor. I gave them one favor. And Jimmy is kind of like, let's go. And Roman listens to him. He doesn't protest. He doesn't give him a hard time. He doesn't bark at him. He doesn't yell at him. They, as a team, run down to the ring together and help Cody against their own family. And then we're watching them stand in the middle of the ring with Cody, and Roman is giving Cody back his title that he is definitely going to want to come after. And the final boss's music hits. I was emotional. I have been running on 9 hours of sleep for the last 72 hours. I've been having a rough time. I've been having a rough go. I have a lot of changes happening in my life. Seeing The Rock after everything that has transpired in the last year and a half, The Rock changed my life. Inadvertently changed my life, but The Rock coming back to professional wrestling made it so that I could sit here and do this. And so it wasn't only an emotion that was rooted in being excited to see him because I watched him when I was a kid, and I think he's one of the greatest to ever do it, and he just has just that aura. I hate that I keep saying aura, but he has that about him. And we haven't seen him since after WrestleMania, and there's so much unfinished business. And so the thought of him being back, he's either giving a warning shot or he's involving himself again to get onto another road to WrestleMania. And that excites me. And it just makes me think of the ride that we were on with him last year and how exciting that was and emotional that was and everything that it has done for professional wrestling, but for me. And so I was hit with those emotions. And now I'm hooked again. We've been in a little bit, I don't want to say that we've been in a little bit of a lull, but when football season starts and college, football, things get busy around this time of year. This is usually a slow time. Last year was a bit of an anomaly because CM Punk returned in November. But now here we are, almost around the same time, and here's The Rock. And so I can't help but wonder where we're going from here. Is he sticking around? Like I said, is this just a warning shot? Are we in for another roller coaster of craziness from now till WrestleMania like we were last year? It gives me heart palpitations a little bit. It makes me excited and it makes me emotional. Overall, Bad Blood was an amazing PLE. Do I think it was the best PLE of the year? No, it was the most inconsistent of them all. And I think it's just a circumstance and a consequence of having two of the greatest matches I've seen in a while on the same card. I don't think there was any right answer to fix that. It just was going to be what it was going to be. Things were already in motion. It sucks because I felt the way that I felt about the other 3 matches that were great. They were built great. The stories were great. And it has left me excited to see what happens Monday and Friday. What was your favorite match of the PLE? I would love to know. Do you agree with me or do you disagree with me? Do you think that switching the first and the last match would have made a difference? Do you think that there's a right answer? Or do you agree with me? Do you think that it had to be one or the other for there to be really anything that made sense? Let me know in the comments as usual. Thank you so much for watching me. We just hit 20K on Twitter and on Twitch tonight, and I can't thank you enough for it. I'm not going anywhere. I appreciate you very, very much. Take care.